I'm just trying to think, what kind of conversation could you actually have with an 18-year-old? At least for me.
How's school?
You talking about 18? What about 17?
No, just let's make it even the legal age, which is 18. What kind of conversation I can I actually have?
House
you
school.
said house school.
I mean, it depends on how mature they are.
Yeah. No, but
Still,
I don't care what anybody
it's only
says.
so much maturity.
I mean, what they have.
Compared to somebody's like
somebody might be like
50-something years old, 51.
Life experience
Me,
is okay.
I'm not gonna tell my age. I'm in my 30s. I can't have no real constructive build a future conversation with an 18-year-old. I could see a 25-year-old being with somebody that's in their 50s. That makes a little bit of sense. It's not your normal everyday relationship, but damn, 18.
If you were 50, would you date a 25-year-old?
If I was single and I was a bachelor, I could do whatever I want. Yeah, I would date a 25-year-old.
So you're against the 18 dating someone older?
No, I'm not saying I'm against it.
Well,
I'm saying I can't picture myself having. Yeah, because even some 25-year-olds, I was like, yo, why am I even around you?
Is the reason because they're not mature?
Matureness is one of the reasons, and wait, for like the 18-year-old?
Yeah.
My daughter's gonna be 18 years old in 3 years.
Because
It's just as you get older, you think about things differently.
That's a different psychological angle that you're looking at it from, because you actually have a kid that's like growing up to be that age.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't look at 18 the way somebody that doesn't have a kid looks at the age of 18. You know, because when I think about the age of 18, I think I was a sophomore in college when I was 18. And it's like, I wouldn't want anybody not to take me serious, you know, or not to think that, oh, I'm not mature enough to do anything, you know, because I saw a lot of like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds that I felt I was way more mature than they were, you know. And so I think it's all like subjective, you know. I think it's a very like gray area that nobody wants to admit, you know. But it's a very gray area, and it really just depends on how you look at it. Now, when you're talking about 16-year-olds and below, I feel like that's different, you know, because that's just, at that point, it's kind of like society already says like, yo, this is a wrong, you know, like every morality kind of also says like, hey, this is a wrong, you know, so at that point, it's like you're going against ethics, you're going against social values, you're going against everything.
I've dated some 21-year-olds and I was like,
The mindset is different.
at first you see maturity because that's like the first attraction, like the times I met somebody that young, but then you see that other side, which there's nothing wrong because they are who they are, and I'm like, I could do without that in my life, you know?
I feel like it's always hard to find that balance though, because I've always found myself like kind of lost. Like I feel like I've just been lost in like the generations, you know. It's like I was in law school. I was like 21 in school with people that were like 30, you know, and older. But it's like a part of me. It's like I'm still young. Like, I'm like, yo, I'm hanging out with the 19-year-olds, with the 20-year-olds, with the 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm hanging out with people that are married, you know, like doing this, doing that. And so it's kind of, it's like, okay, it's like I want to go towards like those more stable people that are like older and mature, but they don't bring this certain energy that the 21-year-olds bring, you know, like they're not just down to just be just carefree, have fun, you know, but at the same time, you know, okay, we're still gonna take care of what we're taking care of. I just feel like it just gets too serious, you know, like once you start getting towards like a more older person, you know, like they have like different ambitions, you know. Oh, like we're gonna be together, like most likely that they're trying to make that next relationship the last relationship, you know.
Yeah.
Like and you know the 21-year-olds, and then you run into a problem because they're in their selfish years, you know. So they all for themselves, like, oh, okay, I don't care if you mad, that's how they are, you know. And it's just I don't know, it's hard to find
Do you
the right
think
balance.
that brought a little bit of balance for you as a person, being that it's like you're in the middle, you tap into the young ones and you tap into the older ones?
I feel like it opened my eyes to realize, like, man, like on both sides of the spectrum, something is always going to be wrong. You know, like there's never going to be perfect. You know, like unless you could find somebody. I guess that's why people always throw in the term equally yoked. You know, unless you can find somebody that you're equally yoked with, like that's the only way it's gonna work. Like it's not just a matter of like, oh, because me and this person are the same age, or because me and this person are the same profession. I was telling somebody the other day, I feel like love is luck. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely luck. Like you get lucky that you just happen to find somebody that you're perfect with. You know, like you can try to pick and choose. I've tried to pick and choose. Like man, like, I want her. You know, like she's fine. Like, I mean, her, I want nobody else. And then you deal with her, and you're like, man, what the? Like, what was I thinking? Like, the legal age is so far off the spectrum, like in different countries.
Yeah,
you know, like there's some countries that are like, okay, if you're 15, you're ready to get married.
Consent,
you know, and it's like, what makes it? It's like what makes their reasoning wrong from the reasoning that we have here? You know, it's like what's the difference?
Well, I think because scientifically you can tell that people in their young teenage years, they're still developing. Like physically, their brain's still developing, their understanding of life is still developing. So they've not even gotten a chance to develop to a point of where they can actually understand certain things. Like it's almost like they're just following what that current society at that time is saying to do.
Yeah.
But like you have kids in those societies that are having babies at 13 and 14, 15, getting married to a grown man because their family says it's okay. Like the culture presents it as it's okay. Yeah. Like for all we know, 18 might not even be an actual good legal age. Dumb shit.
Yeah. The bottom line is consent, though. You know, and I feel like by the time it's like this is a very like thin line that I'm about to walk on. So please don't. I'm not a predator, okay? but I'm about to say something that's really like don't take it literal. Just kind of look at it impartially. You know, like if you look at every kid, right? From the time a kid is about 10, 12 years old, they can say yes or no to anything. They can make a conscientious decision to say, hey, do you want pizza? No. Hey, do you want to go see your friend Michael? Yes. Hey, do you want to go to church? No. Like, you know, like they make their own decisions. Like literally, a kid can make their own decision. So what at the end of the day makes it improbable that a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old can make the conscientious decision to say, oh yes, I like this person. You know, because if you really look at the way like our society is now, everything has sped up, you know, like everything, you know, there are things that used to be so valuable that because of exposure, you know, it's not like when we were going to prom, like you were the man. If one of your friends had a car, you jumped in the car with him and pulled up to prom, you know. Now guys are renting foreign cars because it's exposure. You know, so it's like these kids are growing up at a whole different age where they're being exposed to a whole bunch of different things. You know, so it's like now, like the things that they're able to like make decisions on, like what they're seeing, like everything's just going faster and faster and faster and faster. So that's why whenever I see situations like let's say for instance R. Kelly's situation or anybody else's situation, I don't really just jump to a conclusion. I'm like okay, yeah, it's just a sound like, yo, bro, like you're kind of nasty for that one. But you know, I don't look at it as a one-sided thing. You know, I definitely feel like a 16-year-old can make the conscientious decision to choose exactly what they want to do. You know, as far as like, yes, like, just think about it. When we were in high school, like, we saw the 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds that were dating each other, and you're like, man, they are super in love. You know, and a lot of those stories, like, some of those stories end up turning into marriages, and they end up having kids and stuff like that. And
but the difference in that, though, is you're talking about two young people. When you take somebody that's grown, like an adult, it's a certain influence that person would have on that person's life.
But you see what he's saying.
You're talking about the balance of power. Like the balance.
And that's what
there's no balance in that.
But if you see what he's saying though, that 16-year-old knows through the exposure. They already know. But here's what I'm saying. When I say no, I'm not saying just know about what's happening, but know that it's not normal to be with this 50-year-old guy. Like, they already know.
The term sugar daddies, sugar babies, all of that
Like, they already know.
it's not an uncommon term.
They already know.
So you're saying that they already know what?
They already know that it's wrong, or it's not. Let me not say wrong. Like, it's just abnormal in society's eyes to be with this 70-year-old guy. Most people do. And then, okay, for one, they know about what they're about to get into. As far as
I don't think that's true because I feel like at a certain age, there's a certain level of maturity.
So I guess
experiences.
knowing and maturity, though.
Do they have enough?
What age should we assume that guys and girls know about sex, like education-wise?
In today's world,
yeah,
at 12, 13.
But do they understand it? Like, do they get the
that's what I'm saying. Knowing and maturity.
Do they get the
understand.
physical aspect of it and then
about
the
10 years
mental
from
aspect
now,
of it?
that's good. That should reduce, right?
No, it's not necessarily saying that it's gonna reduce, but it's.
Because people are getting, okay, so let's say 10 years ago,
Yeah.
what would you say the age was?
The age was as far as like somebody knowing what was going on.
Knowing about sex.
I'll say about 17.
But this day and age, the age has dropped.
Yeah, it's dropped because of the internet.
And that's what I'm saying.
You know, information is just moving like this.
Legally, the law should kind of like
drop down that right. But what I was
I
saying,
don't know about that. Just because like there's so much to. No, I'm saying. Yeah, like knowing about just sitting there, I watch a porn and I see how babies are made. That's one thing. But you're talking about the emotional aspects, the psychological aspects, the spiritual aspects, the fact that you're sharing your mind, soul, and body with somebody when you're.
But you know, most people don't really learn about love till they go through a heartbreak.
Yeah.
So it's like till you get your heart broken, you don't really know like damn, like that's when you like sit there like damn, I'm mad I love her. You know, like when you can't eat, when you're just sad, like that's when you know, like, oh man, this is not love that people are talking about. Right?
It's one thing to know. It's one thing to also to have the maturity to handle what you know, right? That's what we're saying. So they could know about, it's not. I don't think I should be dating this 50-year-old guy, or they could know about, I know what sex is, I know what relationships are, quote unquote. But are they really, like what you were saying, are they really mature enough? Can we agree that we never stop, like there's really no age to say this is when you're mature? Because you mature with every experience that you have.
Exactly.
There's no age on maturity, but as far as like you talking about sexually, I feel like there should be an age. I mean, it might be.
An age to be able to
there should be an age because there has to be an age of consent. I mean, there's no way to tell like if this person is ready to say yes or like has those experiences at 18, but there's got to be an age limit with as far as consent. But as far as maturity, there's no age limit. So being 18-year-old, being like a 50-year-old, if they've had those experiences that you're talking about, then I mean maybe they can still build the same level. Not maybe all the way, because I mean everybody's different, but
see that makes sense. But I read something that said that somewhere, I think maybe Minnesota or Pennsylvania, one of those states, the age for consent is like 16.
Yeah.
So are you saying is like okay? Because it's like okay, so they can consent to sex at 16. So. But are they mature?
They're not. There should, but I mean, you gotta start somewhere though. So I mean, at least it's not 15. Like 16 is young still.
My thing is like if you start saying, okay, there should be an age of consent, it's kind of like overbearing because you can't really tell me what I know at my age.
That's true.
It's like I know when I was 17, like I was in college, so it's like I went like it just keeps going back in my mind a lot because I remember like everybody was older than me. Everybody was already 18, 21, doing whatever. You know, I was just like, man, I'm so young. You know, like we'll be in a discussion. Everybody's talking like, oh, how old are you? Oh, I'm 17. And then they want to, like you're 17? But I'm like, yo, like, don't look at me like that. I'm like, yo, I'm running a business right now. Like, I'm 17, like, I'm running a business. Like, I'm hustling, like, I'm in school, I'm doing this. I felt like I could make my own conscientious decisions. But it's like, on paper, if I want to sign something, I still have to get my parents to sign it with me. Meanwhile, I'm the one paying my own rent, you know? I'm the one taking care of myself. But outside of that, I feel like it's kind of overbearing, but it kind of needs to be done because you can't have 30-year-olds messing with 13-year-olds. Like think about it, like you're sending your kids to school and they have a teacher that's 30 and now the teacher is flirting with them. And think about how many times did we hear about that while we were in school, you know? Like, but
I wish some of my teachers were.
exactly. Well, see, that's exactly what I was about to say. Now, flip that to the other side.
Yeah.
Now, you're 13 and you were looking at some teachers like, man, I want to go flirt with her. So why can't you make the consent on your own? You see what I'm saying?
He doesn't know any better.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's true.
You see what I'm saying? That's all like,
He doesn't know any better.
it's a very weird area.
At that point, you feel like the teacher should know better, even though the student doesn't. You know, so like when you have situations, where because he has situations, he said his teacher said, "Buddy, it's not wood." Because it's true. Because it's like, and that's why I think all this thing boils down to. Like, we can throw out this age of maturity as much as we want, but it's just understood that the older person knows better.
So, do you believe that there's a double standard though? Like with that, I feel like
It's a double standard for
I feel
sure.
like society looks at it different.
They do look at it different.
If a 13-year-old boy was to have sex with a 25, 27-year-old woman, and if a 25, 27-year-old man was to have sex with a 13-year-old girl, it's like there's definitely a
That's still nasty to me.
It's still
That's still
I don't
weird.
think society.
But as a 13-year-old guy, I was like, yo, I just.
For you,
Back when you're gonna think that you got taken advantage. Once you mature more, you're gonna be like, dang, that teacher was coming.
No.
You
initiated it.
And also,
Maybe you'll be like, oh, that was a little weird. Like if you think back, you're like maybe like 40.
I feel like
I
that
did that with my
happens.
teacher when I was 13, 17. You're gonna be like, oh, that
I
was
feel
a
like
little
Man, I feel like most guys will be like, man, I was the man. I had my teacher when I was 13.
You'll feel some
That's how the teachers end up getting caught up.
Yeah.
They got eyes. They don't tell you guys. What?
Oh, yeah.
The
They
other
shot the
teacher
guy.
I just
That's
heard. When all this R. Kelly thing comes out and all this shit like comes to the light, I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, like some of these 16-year-old girls know what the hell they are doing. Like how much Shade Room have they seen? Like how much Instagram have they looked at? How much Black China stories have they heard? Even like you have the parents that encourage like their daughters to like engage with guys that are gonna trick on them. You know, like, oh, like, girl, like, yeah, you better go with him and get that money. You know, or if he invites you out, make sure you take your sister with you so that he's gonna feed both of y'all. You know, like you got parents that are like feeding that knowledge to their children, but that's not something that you're gonna feed to your daughter. Like, oh yeah, definitely go. Like, what's the song? Girl, you better f me be rich. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, it's like I be hearing things. I'm like, that song is cool, man. I'm like, what? Like if you listen to like a lot of the lyrics that be going on, it's like, yo, like even Meek had one. How can I trust you when all the rich niggas f you? It's true. It's like that's the age that we're living in. Like, so it's like, what do you think is gonna happen when this young girl that's been going to a club with her mom? What do you think is gonna happen when she has a baby? Like when you go, and it's like we'll go out. I'll go out and I'll see like a baby mama and a baby daddy. Where's the baby? It's 2 a.m.
Are you talking about people that you know?
Yeah, I'm like we're out right now. You know,
yeah.
Where's the kid?
At the grandma's house.
You know, it's like the kid might be with grandma or the kid might be with a babysitter, but think about it. So this kid wakes up in the middle of the night, 2:30 a.m. has a nightmare, knows exactly what happens in the dream, like comes to speak about it, goes to the babysitter. The babysitter is some 15-year-old or some 18-year-old waste man that doesn't really have any life experiences or anything to really just, or maybe not even have the words of the morality or just the experience to be able to explain to the kid like, oh, so this is what happened or this is the way that you should go about it. Now it's like somebody else is pretty much like training your kid and telling your kid what to do in a moment of like a very triggered experience. You know, once you already associate yourself like in a certain like bubble, it's like you kind of see everything that goes around the bubble. It's kind of like, okay, if I want to be with some street guys, Now I'm gonna know about drug dealing. I'm gonna know about smoking. I'm gonna know about prostitution. I'm gonna know about robbing. I'm gonna know about stealing. You know, I'm gonna know the differences and what kind of gun is this? Or is this a gram? Is this an ounce? Like, is that a crackhead? Or is that a junkie? You know, like you're gonna know the differences in all those things.
This is true.
And kind of like if you around like educated people, you're gonna know like, oh, I know what kind of occupation this is. Oh, I kind of know a little bit about this business. Oh, I kind of know a little bit about this subject area. Or I know a little bit about real estate. You know, it's kind of like whatever bubble you're in. So if you're in a bubble of like artists, music business, and all of this like sex, drugs, and and money, you know, like you're gonna see it all around you. Like there's no way that you're not gonna be able to see it. You know, I actually just thought about this randomly right now. So it's like society shuns this whole like interaction, right? They shun the interaction, like the actual touching. They shun it, right? Like it's shunned in society. But what about all the billions of little girls that were just dying for Justin Bieber, dying for B2K, or Mario?
You're right.
Were they
Back
trying to
there.
have interactions with them?
You build an opportunity. You
Had a
build-
crush or
They're buying them
flirting.
posters. They're posting the posters all in their room of all these
But
guys
that-
that are way older than them with their shirts
So you're
off.
saying,
all
as
all
a
in their
society,
room.
we sell sex, but
Yes.
we expect them to
But
not
you
actually
expect
act.
but then it's like we draw this weird line, right? It's like it's kind of like you draw a circle and you're like, hey, this is what this is all about, and then you're like, oh,
Don't
but
step
it's
in
this little weird line right here on this circle that you kind of shouldn't walk on that line, so you can kind of like
Yeah.
dabble around the line, like, oh, like I could see you and be like, maybe I want to be with you, but I can't really be with you though, you know? Like I could look at you and just be all over you and this and that, but I can't really touch. That's why I was like, they show the touching, but it's like how many girls had posters of half naked men in their room?
Yeah,
that they-
so
that
and,
they were-
and that's the thing.
that
That's
they were
why
crushing on.
And I think whoever determines the rules of society, they understand that. That's why they say, well, once you get 18, then you can do it. You're an adult now, so you can consent to legally do what you want. Because what it is they're investing in the minds at a young age, so that when you get older, you're gonna buy the products and the services that life has to offer, based on the fact that from a very young age, we've shown you all these visuals that basically is touching that sexual energy inside of you. So now we can easily market and sell whatever products. Like you got the beer with the girl with the boobs, or like the sports games, or like just whatever it is.
Even the
Because
Weather
sex
Channel.
sells.
With
The
the-
Weather Channel, yeah.
With the
Like it's-
beautiful young girls.
Sex is everywhere, so and because sex is an energy and everything's energy, so it's like if I could find a way to tap into that way, it's basically between sex and love. I think, according to Napoleon Hill, the most two intense energy sources of the mind, body, and soul is sex and love. So they tap into both of it. I mean, you got Valentine's. Love is like we tap into love a lot in society.
A lot, yeah.
So like if you're tapping into that at a young age and you're investing in that person visually and you're marketing to that, now okay, you get to the legal age of 18. Okay, now you can do whatever the fuck you want.
But don't you think it's even more than tapping? It's more of exploiting.
It is exploring.
Because it's like you're telling somebody like, hey, you don't have the conscientious decision.
You don't even give them a chance.
You don't have the experience, or you don't have the maturity to make this conscientious decision to give consent. But we can exploit you and tell you all about these things, right? And feed them to you, make you buy them. You know, like push it all on you, but don't go over there. You know, it's kind of like it's like the garden of Eden. You can have see those beautiful apples over there? Look at it, touch it, but don't you eat it?
That's true.
That's how it is, man.
So I mean, who's to blame then? Who should we blame?
Everybody's to blame.
Not Eve.
Everybody's to blame. That's why at the end of the day, it's like that's why people always talk about coming out of a good home. You know, that's really what it boils down to. It's your environment. You know, like people are raised in different environments, and it's like you gotta realize there's some people that are raised in a two parent family home. You know, mom is there, dad is there. You know, everything is going well. Like, I remember I was talking to some girl the other day, and she was like, yeah, so my parents were talking to me. They were downstairs making breakfast, and she was just saying it as a normal thing. And in my mind, I just stopped. Like, damn, like, I don't think I would. When was the last time I ever even experienced like being in a room with my parents making breakfast? You know, and where I was there. You know, I'm like, wow. I was like, man, that's kind of dope. Like, you really like, you come from like a real family. And then there's some people where it's like, dad's in jail, mom is working 17 hours a day, and you barely even see her. And you might even be in a project somewhere, and so it's like, what is that little girl, what is that little boy being raised on?
When I was in college, I used to work for a nonprofit after school program. And I used to interact with these teenagers, and it was like, yo, you just don't know your potential. I used to have conversations with them and say, man, like, you really don't know that somebody else is dying for the opportunity that you have, you know, but they couldn't get it. And they'd be looking at me dumbfounded, like, yo, what are you talking about? And I'd be like, man, and I would talk to my director, I'd be like, man, I wish we could just organize a trip and just go back to Nigeria. Let's just say that, because that's where I'm from. Like, just organize a trip and take them there so they can see. Like, sometimes I have conversations with my daughter, you know, she hasn't been back home, but I would like her to go back home because she hears so much about it. But then I also want her to see, experience it, because then she can understand what she has and actually value it. Because you get so spoiled to this thing that's been given to us, this opportunity and this freedom, that you don't realize it. Like, yo, there's so much more you can do.
It's different because while you're in Nigeria, you know, it's like I was a 10-year-old kid. It's like we didn't have a water pump in our house, so before we shower, we had to take bucket, go to the house next door or like a couple blocks down, fill up the bucket, come to the house, shower. You know, it's a whole different like skill set that you're tapping in. You know, but it's like you don't realize the value, and it's like now today I've been in America for so long. It's like I turn on my shower, let that thing get hot. You know, I go wash this and do this and do that. I'll come back to that shower later. You know.
And the funny thing is, when you now that you say it, you go back and think about it. We did it back then, just doing it, but that kind of built something in us. Even if it was this much, a little more maturity, it did. Because it's like, you already know that in the morning, this is your duty. You got to get up and go get the water from 2 blocks away. We used to do it on our heads. Carry water. And we go to the well. Sometimes it's not even a tap, it's a well. But you knew that it was your duty to do it. Because if you didn't do it, you wouldn't take a shower. If mom came home from work, she gonna be like, why didn't you do it? You want me to come up from? So it's like you already know this is your responsibility, and that kind of added a little bit of like, you know, maturity to you, because at a young age you're doing stuff like this already. You're taking the conscious decision to tell myself, oh, I gotta go do this before mom come back. I gotta go get this water because she can't be coming home and be doing that. But when you bring it out here, like, nah, they just chilling, they just run the tap, water's out. So it's like it's normal. So I see how that could kind of add to you being smart. I don't want to say smarter, so I don't offend nobody, but just, you know, a little more mature, because you're making those decisions to do things that when you're out here you don't necessarily would do.
If you're in Nigeria and your parents are poor, your grandparents are poor, or more, you better learn how to hustle. like seriously, you have to learn how to hustle. Exactly. Government is not gonna give you a dime. Nobody on the side of the road is gonna give you a dime.
They're gonna take from you.
They'll take from you. They'll shoo you away. You have to learn how to be not only like to protect yourself, like as far as like from the dangers of what could possibly happen. And then you're talking about over here, all you have is even gun or violence. Now you're talking about witchcraft and other things that to some other people might seem taboo, but it's like for us, we know where we know where we're from, and I'm like, yo, that's very, very real. You know, so it's like there's a whole nother side of that, you know, like of that area that you're growing into, that you're learning about, that you're sitting there like, man, I have to make smart decisions. Okay, if I see 1,000 naira on the floor, is it really smart for me to pick it up? You know, it's like you think that, but if you're in America, if you see $100 on the floor,
you gonna pick that up?
How many times are you gonna think about it before you pick that $100 up? You don't pick that thing up immediately, like, we're gonna talk to them. think of it, but Nigeria, you see it. I'm not taking it to a goat today. No way. Oh shit. You think about like why is it that man we're in this country where all these people are so hungry and but you see so many chickens running around, so many goats running around. Why nobody picking them up? Because people are attaching like who's gonna go pick up a random chicken in Nigeria to go eat it so you two can turn to 10 chickens? Nobody's doing that because it's real. It's real. Nobody's doing it. Why would anybody do that? In a country full of opportunists like that, where guys are like really starving. Like, people wake up in Nigeria for 4 a.m., get on the road. Everybody's already have their stuff on their head. Markets have been set up all over the place. It's hustle, 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 hustle. You could be right here. This person is selling cell phones, doing this, right? You take a step over there. That other person selling cell phones, doing this, doing that. You know, you look to the left over there. This person selling cell phones, doing this, doing that. Everybody is hustling. It's hustling. It's all a game of luck. Like, you come to me, but nobody is like sitting around thinking like, oh, you know what? I don't really need to hustle. Maybe I just walk around at Papa Small, or maybe I'll find one chicken or one this or one that. Nobody's doing that because they know they live in a whole different. They know the environment that they live in.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. We can wrap it up. I mean, obviously, we already know that maturity comes with experiences and stuff like that. You live in Nigeria, you tend to be a little more mature. I'm not gonna say people out here not mature, but I didn't say that. But because of your experiences and what you had to deal with growing up, all of that stuff, you know, it helps you grow well and mature a little more compared to when you're high and you just, you know, stuff is easy. I'm not saying you're not mature. You get mature, but I guess over time from your other experiences. But if we bring it back to consent, can we say that, and we can end with this? Can we say that? The age of maturity should be determined by the age of the older person within a relationship. You see what I'm saying? So if this person is 25, then the age of maturity for the other person, whoever is with, shouldn't be lower than a certain age. So basically, your maturity should be determined by the age of the other person.
Because it doesn't matter about the age in terms of maturity. It's based on your experience.
But then that age also kind of matters, though, because when
who says they're mature?
Yeah, like the 20-something-year-old. I've met some 50-something-year-olds that just ain't mature.
They trifling. No, they're trifling. No, they're playing.
You go to the clubs, like you see some 30-something-year-old girls that are bottle girls. 30-something.
They're hustling.
They're hustling. You said that hustle stuff. You didn't change out. You need to change that hustle.
They're hustling, dog.
That hustle is
that's the closest and easiest way.
I'm telling you.
They're trying to get the extra money.
Like, I don't know if you can just boil it down to age. I don't know if you can just boil it down to age.
That's crazy.
And it's just weird because at 16, you could drive. At 18, you're legally an adult. But at 19, you're still a teenager. Mm-hmm. At 20, there's something that's really changed. You can now legally buy alcohol at 21. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and then if you go to Europe, you can buy alcohol at 18 or something like that. So like,
well, down south in Mexico, you can buy alcohol at 16. That's right. We only like what? A fence away? A wall away. A wall away.
Oh my God.
That's funny. Whoa, man.
That's funny. Hey man, look. Good conversations. I mean, I wish we could continue, but this shit never ends. This is crazy.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Never ends.
Damn.
Society's just so weird though.
Nah, it is.
Society is very weird.